What's a hashtag? For those of us who are over the age of perhaps 22, sometimes we might struggle to understand what's a hashtag on Twitter or Instagram and how do we use hashtags for marketing purposes. So in this video, we're going to dive into what hashtags are on both of those networks and how to use them for effective marketing. Let's get started. Welcome back. We're looking at the use of hashtags on Twitter and Instagram, especially with the angle of how to use them for marketing purposes. Hashtags exist on other networks like Facebook. I believe they exist on LinkedIn, but they're really used primarily on Twitter and Instagram, and they originated on Twitter. Materials, of course, are in the YouTube description, so look there for your description. In the description for materials, tools, etc. All right, so first of all, let's just sort of understand the basics of what hashtags are and how they're used. And there's two rather disconnected uses for hashtags that most people are not aware of. So the primary use of a hashtag is essentially like a conversation. So I have links here in the description. And so for instance, let's click from the blog post here that I've written to California. And you'll notice here in the top of the browser, now I'm logged into my Twitter account, so of course it's better to be logged in so you can kind of see what's going on. You don't have to be though. And notice here that the URL is twitter.com/hashtag/California. And then as you scroll down, you'll see that this is essentially a collection of everyone in the world who is right now talking about California. And it can be everything from something terrible like a murder to something funny. It can just be anything going on talking about the Golden State. And Twitter now organizes them to sort of the top tweets. Those are tweets that are sort of by more quote unquote important persons. Or you can click on latest and see. So it's essentially a way to dive into the whole conversation about California. Now, that can be true for anything. There's a whole conversation going on across the world about dogs, and this is the Twitter conversation with photos, with videos, with pictures about dogs. And you'll notice in a tweet that there are even clickable other hashtags. So you can use one hashtag to go into other hashtags, and you go from dogs to wearables. You could spend your whole life just browsing Twitter and seeing what people are talking about on anything. So that's useful just to kind of get your bearings. The same thing is going on Instagram. So for instance, on Instagram, this is the hashtag for Chevy. So these are people who love Chevrolet cars, and they're posting photos, and you'll see here in the post that they're tagging or they're putting in a hashtag Chevy, Corvette, classic cars, and they're sharing photos of cars that they like or love or want to comment on. So similarly to Twitter, Instagram uses hashtags as a way to organize conversations, and people who love Chevys are going to look at Instagram or Twitter to see the conversations and the photos and the videos that other people that like Chevys are doing. Now, it doesn't have to be something you like. It can be something political like global warming, where people are pro, think it's really happening, against it, it's not happening, whatever. Can be anything. It also can be sort of around a brand. So here's the hashtag Gucci, and this is everyone across the world that is a fan of Gucci, talking about Gucci, criticizing Gucci. It's incredibly open what's happening across Twitter and Instagram. So the concept here to understand is the primary idea behind a hashtag is a conversation. Now at that, your little marketing ears should prick up, because you should realize if you're selling, dog treats or you're selling dog toys, wouldn't it be awesome if you can chime in at the global conversation about dogs and say, look at my new leash, or look at my new throw toy, or whatever, would you please buy it? Now, you don't want to be quite that shameless, but that's why marketers are very interested in hashtags out there. That's the first use of it. The secondary use of it, which is not as well understood, I think, especially for people who are over 30, is it's really come to be kind of like an exclamation mark. So if somebody is failing their math test, they'll take a selfie and then they'll post at the end of their tweet or the end of their Instagram picture, hashtag epic fail. Or if they say something funny, they'll just put hashtag just kidding at the end of it, for instance. So that hashtag can just be a funny way, like this guy here is saying, good thing I'm going to diet or else to be a goner, and he's saying, just kidding. He's not really meaning that, and that doesn't mean there's a conversation going on about just kidding. It just means this guy is sort of making a funny selfie, and he's exclamation marking it to mean that he doesn't mean that he's going to eat this bunny, for instance. So that's the secondary use of hashtags. Okay, I have the links for both the official Twitter and Instagram explanations of what hashtags are. Just a heads up that both of these, kind of ironically, right, both of these big stodgy companies, as it were, they don't understand the second use that's emerged in the culture for hashtag. All right, so now we know what they are. Hashtags are conversations, generally speaking, and secondarily, we as marketers want to put our information out there and kind of chime in on conversations that are close to our brand. So if we sell organic baby food, we want to talk. We want to chime in to people that are looking at organic, people that are looking at babies, people looking at baby food, people are looking at kids. There's a whole bunch of clustered models of hashtags that are related to our brand that we'd like to get our message out there. Okay, now, so we know that. So we're going to have some keyword themes. We will have researched those before. So we produce baby food, we've got organic, we've got baby food, we got babies, we got kids, we got parenting, we got parents, all that kind of stuff. Or we're a barbecue manufacturer and it's barbecue and it's Texas and it's cooking and it's grilling and it's home cooking, etc. So you're going to do some brainstorming as to what are the keywords or themes that are relevant to your brand. And it's a good idea to keep a list of these in a Word doc or something like that. Now, how do you discover them? What are ways to discover them? A simple way to do it is just to go to Twitter or Instagram and search for things that are related to your brand and write them down. So for instance, on Twitter, you can put in here something like cooking, and you can go and you can search, and you can do all sorts of advanced searches, but you can go in here and cooking and you can just start seeing, go and look and just look for, oh, here's slow cooker. So those are people talking about slow cooking, right? You can go and look and just look for the hashtags, or just do Control F and put in hashtag up here, and then just go through and quickly see what are the hashtags that people are talking about. Or you can scroll down to the yellow mark here on the left-hand side of the screen, and you can. So sometimes you don't know what they are. Hashtag Empire, who knows? Maybe that's New York Empire State. Repeal the 19th. I don't know what that is, right? So you can go and it's just a little bit crazy, but you're going to be looking by searching for your keywords. You can also just use the keyword function up here and look, and you'll see some down here, or you can put in whatever you're interested in, organic, and then look for posts and look for what's out there that's related to organic. So here's the hashtag National Farmers Day, and it's all about people talking about farming. Okay, so that's Twitter. On Instagram, same deal. You can go and look on Instagram, and you can now log into Instagram on the top. Oh, I'm sorry, let me jump over to Instagram first. So you can now go to Instagram.com. You can log in on the desktop. You used to not be able to do that. And then you can go into the top and you can put in organic food and do a search, and you can see, and it'll help find stuff. It's a little bit different than Twitter. You have to go out here and see, and you can say, okay, here's hashtag organic. So that's one way to find hashtags, and then look at a post on Instagram and look at related hashtags if they're in here. You'll see hashtags in here somewhere. So you can look at the post, and you just kind of have to scan it and look for the hashtag. So here's one. See this guy here who's obviously very healthy. He's hashtag power, hashtag superfood. So superfoods is sort of related. Hashtags cleanse, detox, raw, organic. This is just a little treasure trove, isn't it, of potential hashtags on Instagram that you can chime into with your product or service. And again, hold that thought, because I'm not recommending that you just shamelessly plug your products. You need to be useful, you need to be funny, you need to be on topic. It's a soft sell environment. Now, other ways that you can find hashtags that I have links for you here are to use Google. So you can go to Google and type in site : no space, twitter.com your keywords. If it's 2 words, I'd put a phrase, put quote, quote. So this is site:/twitter.com organic food, and then you can go look on Twitter at the various accounts, and again scroll through and you'll see, oh, hashtag GMO. That's an interesting related to organic. So you can really discover them by using Google. You can also on Google go search tools, anytime, past week, and that's another way to quickly dive into what hashtags are out there. So site:/twitter.com organic food, search tools, past week, and then you can already see the hashtags showing up in some of those headlines, or you can click over into Twitter and find them in that fashion. So that's another nifty trick, and you can do that for Instagram as well. You can put site:/instagram.com organic food and find them in that way. So that's another way. So the first way is to go directly to the search engines on Twitter, on Instagram. The second way is to use site: on Google and look at maybe past week, because it's pretty fast moving. The third way, there are some neat tools. Let me show you a couple tools. Hashtagify.me is a great tool. It's a Twitter-based tool. So we'll let that load here for a second. And once that loads, so again, hashtags don't have any spaces, so you could start typing organic, hit search, and then it's going to show you, you can actually go and see, you can click, once this loads, it's a little slow to load here, but once it loads, you can click on them and it'll rearrange. And you can see that hashtag organic is related to food, is related to food porn, is related to recipes, is related to yummy. And over here on the right-hand side of the screen, it's showing us the top tweets, the top stuff going on Twitter. And again, you can discover them here as well. So hashtagify.me is a fantastic kind of a visual tool for it. And guess what? They're starting to track Instagram for a paid fee. So that's one. There are a couple other tools. There's tagboard.com. So tagboard.com, again, a hashtag doesn't have no spaces are allowed. So you start typing organic and then you have to kind of guess it's organic food. Hit search. And then Tagboard is going to pull across all the different networks, posts that are going on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. And you can drill down over here to see just the ones that are on, say, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. You can drill into. It's a pretty cool little system now. Tagboard to find, you have to sign in, but whatever. So you can go and see. So that's another tool to find them. And then a third tool is hashtags.org, which was an old tool, and it got a lovely refresh in the last year or so. So you can type in organic, and you can see. And what I like here is it's going to tell you what that is. So I like that because sometimes it's like, what is this hashtag about? It's going to try to give you a definition of what that conversation is. And it gives you users and tweets and all sorts of cool stuff as well. So those 3 tools can help you find and discover hashtags as you're researching them for your social media marketing. Now, I'm often asked, like, well, who creates tags and who's in control? So, please cover your children's ears at this point. No one's in control, right? I think the older you get in life, the more you realize that no one is in control, maybe with the possible exception of God or some supreme being. But no one is in control of hashtags. Anyone can create them. Anyone can chime in. It's sort of a crowdsourced system. Whether they succeed, whether they fail, whether they get hijacked. And in fact, some of our large, not so intelligent corporations, a certain big bank, for instance, once wanted to create a hashtag and people chimed in with how much they absolutely hated this bank. Some of our fast food chains have done the same thing. No one is in control, so be careful when you create a hashtag that customers from hell, people who do not like you, can chime in on your hashtag. Competitors can chime in on your hashtag, etc. So I kind of recommend for most of us mere mortals that we research a bit and try to chime in on hashtags that are already in use. Okay, so now that you know what they are, you've started to discover them, you've started to make a list of which ones are relevant to your product or service, now it's time to chime in. And the trick here, as you compose a tweet or you compose a post to Instagram, is to be useful. It is a soft sell environment, so don't just shamelessly sort of spam hashtags with buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. But try to be useful. So I have an example here. So I was reading this morning, Google is coming out with some changes to expanded text ads on AdWords. So there's, of course, a hashtag AdWords conversation on Twitter about Google AdWords. So to be useful, I made a tweet about it and said the new expanded text ads from AdWords are here's some tips from Google. So I'm not sharing my own content, I'm tweeting Google's content, but I'm really positioning the JM Internet Group as a helpful expert for people who are really busy, and here's a change coming to AdWords. And if you click on that in the video description here, it's going to take you to our tweet, and you'll be able to see that, surprise, surprise, there is a conversation going on about AdWords across Twitter, and I tweeted, and that's doing what? That's kind of getting my brand equity out there, getting my name out there, etc. All right, so let's wrap up sort of what we have learned. So first and foremost, we've learned what hashtags are, which is essentially they are a conversation. That's the most common marketing use of them. A hashtag is a conversation on Twitter, on Instagram, to a lesser extent on, say, Facebook or Google Plus or something. Secondly, we as marketers want to discover hashtags that are being used by our customer base or relevant to us. So are closely related to our topics or adjacent topics. And we do this through a little research on Instagram, on Twitter. We can use Google to go site:/twitter.com, or we can use some of these nifty tools like hashtagify.me to discover hashtags as we're doing our resources. And then thirdly, once we know our hashtags that are relevant and we've got kind of our hashtag list, we're going to create some sort of shameless self-promotion by starting to use those hashtags in our tweets, in our posts to Instagram, with the caveat that we don't want to just shout at people, buy our stuff. We want to be useful, you want to be friendly, you want to be funny, you want to be on topic. It's sort of like hanging out at the water cooler at work. If you're just a boorish oaf, no one's going to like you and they're not going to listen. So that, my friends, is a quick summary of what hashtags are and how to use them. The materials are in the YouTube description. You can click to get to the materials. Of course, always subscribe to the channel, and as you have questions, either put them in YouTube or send me a quick email, and I'll be happy to take some questions.